I don't remember showing so much enthusiasm about a new band as I did when I first heard the debut album by Kingdom Come. Somehow they're just one of those outfits that happen to be in the right place at the right time, with the right management, a record label firmly behind them, they had the right publicist, and a massive amount of press coverage. Accurately timed, of course, to give maximum exposure just when it was needed. Now, obviously, a certain amount of luck's crept into Kingdom Come's programming, and why not? I mean, if you feel that things are really cooking, then only fools would blow it. And Kingdom Come have grasped every opportunity to create interest, and it's certainly paid off. It's not all been milk and honey, though. As soon as their debut album hit the streets, the press immediately branded Kingdom Come Led Zeppelin clones, a label they were going to find extremely difficult to discard. There are three major problems from what I've found in the music business when bands are branded clones. First problem is, do we admit to it or do we deny it? The second problem is, the initial management or record company biog often suggests a band's early influences. Very dangerous from what I've found. And the third thing is, once one magazine clones a band, the others automatically follow, and then phrases like Led Zeppelin clones, they spread around the music business and the pubs like wildfire. Well, in the case of Kingdom Come, Lenny Wolf chose to firmly deny any accusations, and consequently really got vexed. He first pointed out that, as a German of course, he was most interested initially by Lennon and McCartney's music, and latter by Lennon's innovative solo career, and secondly that whilst Zeppelin were a fine band, they too were very much influenced by the follow-on of the early blues movements, as in John Lee Hooker or Howlin' Wolf, no pun intended incidentally, and of course Hubie Ledbetter. Well, it's also important to note that Canned Heat and the Yardbirds and Cream, etc., they were all in the same vein. Well, Lenny had a point, and I must admit, actually, I really respect him for that. And Kingdom Come made their debut British appearance on the Magnum's Wings of Heaven tour. They appeared at Manchester's Apollo Theatre on the 31st of March, playing to a packed house. Well, the crowd were a trifle uncertain, but nevertheless amazingly supportive. And I've no doubt been a little less reserved had the album been a little longer, and had the press been a little less callous. Anyway, it was a pretty fair gig. The afternoon prior to the gig was my one and only opportunity of chatting with the band, and whilst I've never been over keen on quizzing a band prior to the performance, well, we had some fun. So here we go. A little bit of a chat with Johnny B. Frank and with Lenny Wolf prior to the gig. Welcome to England.
Thank you.
On the Magnum tour.
Mm-hmm.
Right, enjoying it.
Loving
Absolutely,
it, yeah.
Yeah,
It's great.
also heard some good news as well that the album's doing rather well in America.
Yeah, I believe it's number 16 now, right?
Yeah.
Chart charts, yeah.
Yeah.
We're smiling.
You should be. It's a great album. Love it to death.
Thanks.
Okay. Lenny, you actually come from Hamburg, don't you?
Yes, that's my hometown.
Staunch Beatles fan, so I believe too.
Yep, that's one reason why I'm very excited being here, because Liverpool is like, what is it, like half hour away from here?
That's what, about 60 miles, 40, 60 miles, I don't know. Not too far away.
Really, yeah.
Merseyside.
People were telling me it's very close, you know. I definitely
Yeah.
want to go there, check it out, where Paul McCartney used to grow up, John Lennon. Hey, I'm a Beatle fanatic.
Yeah?
You're sitting across a Beatle fanatic, yeah. Since I'm 14, yeah, She Loves You. That's the song that did it to me.
Sure, yeah. It was a great single.
Oh,
They
yeah.
had a lot of good singles though, didn't they? A lot of good album tracks as well though. I mean, I particularly like the psychedelic period of the
Oh,
Beatles.
sure. I mean, whatever they
Yeah.
did, I love it. Absolutely. It's one of the Beatles are pretty much the only band where almost like every single thing they did.
Yeah,
Almost, yeah.
that's good. Yeah.
Okay.
What about your early influences, Johnny? I mean,
The same. The Beatles. I think I was into the Stones and the Animals and Yardbirds and things like that.
a little bit, rather like myself. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
You can tell in Janet Jackson, it's okay.
Janet Jackson,
I'm
yeah.
not afraid,
Yeah.
So, how early was it that you started your band? You don't look very old now. I mean,
No,
you've been rocking and rolling for a few years, haven't you?
I'm 25, yeah.
Yeah.
I started, when did I start? Yeah, I started when I was 14. Like I said, She Loves You, first song from the Beatles I heard, blew me away, and since then I knew I had to have a guitar, and I started singing right away. I detuned the guitar, in fact, because I didn't know how to tune the guitar properly. I wasn't able to play harmonies, proper chords, right? So I just detuned the guitar, so when I was hitting all strings at once, it made a perfect harmony. And I started writing my own melodies right away, like a ballada, and I always sang in English. I never knew what I was talking about until I finally got to the States like 4.5 years ago. So I was singing "She Loves You," yeah. I kept all the Beatles songs. And finally, about like what was it like 6-7 years later, I realized what I was singing about the last years. That was very exciting.
Great, yeah. Because there's some fabulous bands come out of West Germany then. I mean, the Scorpions,
Oh, yes,
Michael
I love
Schenker
them.
Group, right?
Yeah.
Warlock, I think I particularly like. I like the Warlock crew. Yeah. And Accept and a new band, fairly new band to me anyway, Dark Song. I think they seem to be kicking it a bit.
Yeah, they're doing great.
Yeah. And Halloween. Let's not forget about Halloween.
Yeah.
Right?
Oh, I didn't even know that. They're Germans.
I didn't know that either.
Yeah.
See, we're learning things.
God, am I proud of what?
Very popular over here.
Yeah.
They'd say a lot of England makes a lot of bands, you know. I
Yeah.
think this is.
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
We've made a lot of
definitely
money.
used to. I mean, whether it's AC/DC, Def Leppard, or Zeppelin, Beatles. I mean, all those major bands came from England. So I mean, I believe in the early '60s, '70s, all the main bands were coming from England. But it's changing a little bit because finally all those stupid Germans realized what rock and roll is all about. Yeah, hey.
Yeah, but another thing you should remember too. All right, fair enough. You're here with Magnum, who are a fabulous band. I mean, most of the Magnum gigs are sold out. But
Yes.
all right, in a few days' time, Robert Plant plays the UK, and
Isn't that funny?
we just can't tell we can't sell tickets now.
Really?
No, we
Oh.
could have done 5 or 6 years ago, but not now because the British public is always latching onto new bands, and this is where
That's great,
This is,
that's
You know,
great.
when I started, I said, right, Kingdom Come. The kids have proven the music press totally wrong. No, that's why. This is the answer. They say, hey, wait a minute, we like this album, we like the band, we want to buy the album. On yours.
That's one aspect I'm very, very happy about. I mean, it comes down to, I don't know if I'm supposed to say this. If not, I'll probably get a beep tone on the radio. But you can't bullshit kids, and I'm very happy about it. They know if this band is faking something or if they're for real. And this band, whether it doesn't matter how similar it sounds to Zeppelin. We're gonna get into it later, probably. Anyhow, I can see it on your face. But
No, you're not. You're not actually, because I mean it's boring crap, you know.
oh, well,
It's not-
good. He is happy.
Yeah.
Hey, great. No, but
First interview.
But I mean, every single song we are performing, every single word I'm singing, I believe in, I'm behind it, and that's really us, you know. And why should I make myself sound bad because I happen to sound not like him,
Sure.
like he used to sound? So, I think it's great that the kids are open-minded here. It's wonderful.
That's great. When you were in Germany, you played with a band called Funhouse.
Yeah.
Fairly successful, or
No,
what?
not at all.
No.
Not at all. That was one of those bunker bands still trying to make it, and that was in fact that was my first compromise band I was playing with for just a few months. After playing on those bunkers, you know what I'm talking about, those bunkers left from World War II, cheap buildings, like very thick walls, so I could play at 2 in the morning without disturbing neighbors. So it was perfect for that situation. I never had any money, and. So after playing in those bunkers for like 10 years, I figured it's time to get my foot into the business. I mean, I like to support myself too, just by playing music. And Funhouse at that time seemed like one of those bands who have their act pretty good together. This guitarist, Norbert Pape, he was a very business-orientated man. So I figured, hey, maybe he can help putting this all together and make it happen. And I realized very soon that it wasn't the case at all, but it was a necessary experience I had to do, you know. And
Sure. Yeah.
it's okay, but through him, I met Marty Wolf, my manager.
Right.
It's no relation, by the way. It's just coincidence.
Yeah?
His last name spells was 2F. He paid me £5 to say that. And my last name was 1F. But so I mean, Funhouse actually did some good for me because I met Marty Wolf.
That's
But it was the first band where I was doing something I didn't really believe in. It was more like a Rolling Stones kind of a party type of band, and I'm not necessarily party. I'm more into this message kind of a heavy groove, you know.
Whereabouts do you come from then? All right, Johnny, where?
I'm from Akron, Ohio.
Yeah.
Right outside of Akron, Ohio, a small town, yeah. Which is actually a pretty musical area. A lot of people, I mean, I guess the most famous band that ever came out there was Devo. And Joe Walsh and Rachel Sweet and Chrissy Hine, I guess, would probably be one of the more famous people.
Right.
I used
right.
to play in a band with Chrissy's brother. I mean, he was quite a bit older than me. He was a saxophone player. And he played with the Kent State Lab Band when he was like 16 years old. And he had no idea what he was doing, but he was the first chair soloist. He was just a maniac sax player. He's, you know, very linear guy, you know, and just the original beatnik hippie.
Yeah,
guy, you know.
great stuff.
And I used to see Chrissy all the time at this club where the 15, 60, 75 blues band played in Kent, Ohio. all the time, and she was all just out of her mind in the front row dancing to this band like everybody else was at that time. You know.
Great stuff.
Yeah.
Generally jamming, because I mean, basically, of course, a lot of American bands have started off by jamming. You don't have what we call, or you didn't anyway, in America, pubs where a lot of the guys sort of hang around the bar waiting for some record company exec to come in. I mean, in America, you sort of get takeaways, don't you? Practice a lot more than we do.
I think so. We're from Hollywood, and now if you want to practice in Hollywood, you have to buy a studio for the day that has a PA in it. But everywhere else, I think in America, it's the same, like Lenny's Bunker, or we call them garage bands, where you'd borrow your garage from your father, and you know you have your own little real crappy PA. And,
it really depends on the enthusiasm that every single musician feels for himself. I mean, it's, you know, I mean, I was playing hours every single day out of an urge. I had to do it, not because I should, or I had nothing better to do. I had to sing and play my guitar every day, and it's not like so I don't necessarily agree with it. In America, they rehearse more.
That's me too. I could never walk by a piano without playing it, or I could never walk by. There was a guitar there, or there was one of those huge upright basses in the corner, and I just couldn't stop playing them, you know. So it wasn't by choice. I guess it was the big guy upstairs pushing me, you know, to do it. But, you know.
Tell me a little bit about Stone Fury. Recorded 2 albums for MCA.
Right.
I personally thought they were rather good. I mean, Burns Like a Star I thought was really good.
Thank you.
Let Them Talk.
It's the second album to draw the bottom line. It's like making love without a climax. I would say Perfect Fuck with no orgasm, excuse me. But what it is, beep, like it's coming there. No, what it is, I mean, like I said, when I met Marty Wolf, he asked me if I would just like to come to LA for 3 weeks, and I figured, hey, let's get a tan for free. I've never sat on a plane before. Let's check it out. So he put me together with Bruce Gowdy, my ex-partner from Stone Fury, who played the lead guitar at the time. And Bruce and I always liked each other, but it was more like a business relationship than actually like really digging what we were doing. That was one of the not necessarily best ways to start off, I think. Then at that time, radio changed drastically in America. All of a sudden they stopped playing rock and roll for whatever reason, and every rock and roll band coming out at that time, 4.5 years ago, had a very hard time getting any airplay. And it's very hard to break a band without any airplay. I mean, there are exceptions like Iron Maiden. They do incredibly good without any airplay, hardly. But nevertheless, it did affect us very much, and so nothing really happened. One of the main mistakes I think MCA did, whether they're nice people or not, I mean, they are, but they just didn't send us on tour.
No.
I mean, we were opening for Aerosmith for 2 weeks in Texas in a period of time of, 3.5 years. And that's a joke. I mean, rock and roll belongs on the stage. It's nothing new. They should have known. And that was one of the reasons I think why Stone Fury didn't happen. On the other hand, I'm not very upset about it, because 4 years ago, I wasn't really mature enough. I think mentally, as well as my voice, wasn't really at its peak. Right now, I think I'm at my peak in terms of being able to translate, to transfer my soul through my voice onto the disc. I mean, I got to a level now where I really think I'm still fresh, but then again, very mature and ripe now to actually do something really deep.
That's right. So in other words, what you're saying in a nutshell, without spending 5 minutes over it, at long last, you're beginning to really kick shit.
Exactly. Yeah.
That's great.
So I'm prepared for whatever happens. It's good. I mean, you gotta get humble once in a while. That's what rock and roll is all about.
I think we ought to give name checks to the other members of the band. All right, we've got Johnny and Lenny with us now. Right, who are the other members?
And then we get Denny Stagg on lead guitar.
Right, how did you get hold of him then?
When we started auditioning, what was it, about a year ago almost?
April, almost a year ago.
I knew this girl who knows pretty much everybody in Los Angeles who's a musician, and I asked her to help me out finding musicians, because I hardly knew anybody. I'm not one of those guys who likes to meet everybody just for the sake of it. So I didn't know that many people. I gave her a tape with 3 songs, What Love Can Be, Now, and 17, which I think have like 3 extreme different characters in between themselves. This way I could find out how they react to the type of feel I was looking for. And then Johnny and Danny, they came in together. In fact, they played together for years.
We came out here from, well, I'm from Kent, Ohio, right outside of Akron, and Danny's from Pittsburgh, which is about 100 miles away. And I hooked up with him. His brother was a DJ on Kent State radio station, a college radio station, and he always came to see my band. I had a band with my brother as a guitar player, and he played me a tape of Danny, just in high school at the time, and I said, wow, this is the guitar player I want. And so I've hooked up with him. I've been with him ever since. We put a bunch of tapes together in Akron and came out to Hollywood and did a couple records that, you know, we listened to much. Like Lenny, we listened to the producer instead of doing what was in our heart. And the guy, like Kim Foley, produced a record that we did, and he said, well, you guys will probably hate this music in 6 months and want to rock again. And it was the truth. I mean, it was at the time in America where rock bands weren't getting signed, and he says, do this for me, and you know, we'll get you in the door. And we did an album that sounded like Computer Puppets or something, and it still featured Danny's guitar, which, you know, is a real Jimi Hendrix oriented guitar, which is what we came out there to sound like. I mean, we had a power trio, and we ended up playing this new wave music and hating it after a while. So I guess, you know, it just proves if your heart's not into it, your record's going to fail. You know, so, that's what happened. And we you know, had a few disappointments and went with this band and that band, put a few of our others together, and finally hooked up with Lenny last year.
Brilliant. Yeah.
Fortunately. So,
It's good. I also like to say that this is the first band where I actually feel like it's a band. It's a gang. We really love each other. We get along great. It's a big party. I mean, without being drunk, but it's a big party.
Yeah. So there's no. Yeah. In other words, there's no superstars in the band. It's got to work as a complete outfit.
No. The only reason why. I mean, after being humbled for several times and going through headaches I went through with MCA and being forced to work with a producer who I really did not like at all. So this time, before I got signed, of course, I made sure this time it'll be my way, or I rather don't get signed, because my music is too personal to just do what some businessman would like me to do. So and then I met Derek Shulman, this gentleman who signed me in New York, Polygram, and he told me, Lenny, just I mean, forget about all those singles and what the radio want, just give me a great album. And it was perfect. So he gave me a little financial help, and so I could put a band together. And I was really very picky with finding the guys. And it's great. I mean, we get along just wonderful.
That's good.
I mean, head-wise, musically, it's just perfect.
You nearly signed with Geffen, didn't you? At one particular stage, David Geffen just.
No, we talked to. I mean, we did talk to Geffen, but more in terms of publishing situation than a record deal. But what's his name? I'm sorry, I'm a little spacey right now. John Colladner, who is an old friend of Marty Wolf, our manager. They talked, and I guess he really liked it. In fact, he obviously liked it. So
he made an offer; it just came a little late.
Yeah, he made it very. That's that.
That's great. Who do you write most of the material, or what?
Yeah, by the time I put the band together, I was sitting on about 30 songs already.
Yeah.
And I like to say, just to justify myself a little bit more, that out of the 30 songs, about half of them were people would have said, oh, it sounds like a Beatles Comes Out Angels mixture, because I'm still very heavily influenced by them.
Yeah.
And then also I'm very influenced by Zeppelin, AC/DC, that kind of music. And by the time I put the band together, in between James Kotek on drums, and Danny and Johnny and Rick, it was obviously what direction we want to go. I played them all my demos, and we voted which songs we would like to do. So it's definitely a band's decision.
Yeah. So there's quite a few American bands who have done the really big business over in America. Like Poison, for instance, they've done the business, right? Mm-hmm. They're what we call the glam rock.
I know those guys.
Do you know do you?
Well, there's a club in Hollywood called the Rainbow. I should get free passes forever. I've pumped them at every interview here. But that's where I first met Lenny, and it's where all the rockers hang out. And you'll see Poison there every night of the week, and Motley Crue, and every other Hollywood band. You know, they're nice guys.
Yeah. They sold a lot of records. A lot of records.
Yeah, oh yeah.
You take the other type of music, the thrash music, like Metallica and Megadeth, etc. What do you think of that? What are your own personal views on
You know, I never like to put down anything, because it's a matter of taste. Just because somebody does something which doesn't really hit exactly my taste, it doesn't make it bad or anything. I mean, there's punk, which necessarily doesn't do anything for me personally, but there's just the fact that the punk, for example, makes several other people happy, makes me respect it. It's okay. It's not necessarily my cup of tea, but it's okay. But I was definitely not looking for a fashion show. I was looking for musicians who like to do this particular feel with me.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. So what do you think about stage dress? Is it important or not? You tell me, because I mean your music comes right in the middle. It's straight down the middle, sort of blues rock.
I mean, we are rockers, and we are, but at the same time, I mean, for example, Danny on guitar, he knows how to burn. Let's say he does a very heavy solo. He is burning, but nevertheless, he is still putting emotions out, and that's what I'm after. And I don't like this senseless speed playing, martial up to 11 and I'm faster than anybody else. It doesn't do anything for me. But then again, I still wouldn't say it's garbage. I wouldn't, because if it makes other people happy, that's fine.
It's what Ted Nugent said last week. He likes it for about a couple of minutes, but then there's no heart, there's no soul.
That's exactly what I was trying to say. There's no heart in it. Exactly.
Yeah. What do you think of the stuff that Plant's doing at the moment then?
I love it. I absolutely love it. I'm not saying it because for whatever deep reason behind it. For example, Big Log, one of my all-time favorite songs. You know, what it did in the freeway. You know this. What's the title? Big Log. Right?
It's
one of my personal weaknesses. Titles. I can't remember a title. But I love some of his solo stuff very, very much.
Yes, I think he hit it off very, very well with Principle of Moments. I thought was an excellent. Through with the two-step, I thought was an exceptionally good song. I mean, I like Pictures at 11 as well. The third album I didn't like at all. And there's a couple of album tracks on the new one which I quite like. Woman of Troy, I think, is quite good. Yeah.
It's a different ball game. I mean, he's not out there to like. I mean, he's not as rocking like he used to be with Led Zeppelin.
Exactly. Possibly what he could do with really at the moment is having Jimmy Page back on stage with him.
Exactly, and I still don't know if that would be the answer to get back to it, because I mean they all grew, they all changed, so I don't really know exactly if just by putting them back together it would be the answer. I don't know, but what he's doing right now, it's like I said, it's a different ball game, but it's still great.
Yeah.
I mean, it touches me heavily. I mean, not all of his stuff, of course. There are songs you love, there are songs you don't care that much about. It's normal, right?
Yeah.
But for example, this Big Log, it just still blows my mind. It's nothing like sitting on the. I mean, the way I do my relaxing is sitting on the freeway at 2 in the morning, blast the stereo.
Yeah.
And
drive 190 miles an hour. It's real relaxing.
How do you get your kicks? Are you sort of freeway drivers or what? Or are you?
I have about the fastest car in Hollywood.
I noticed, yeah.
I have an old '69 AMX, like the Road Warrior drove, and it has a 390 in it with 375 horsepower, and it'll go 150, and that relaxes me a little bit. And we rent boats, and you know.
10 exhaust pipes hanging on everywhere.
Yeah.
You get people like sort of Chris Holmes from Wasp, for instance, that is really into water sports like water skiing and things like that. The guy is almost a fitness fanatic, you know.
Jet skiing. I just discovered it about a year ago.
Yeah.
Oh, that's so much fun. If you ever have a chance, you gotta do it. It's like Harley Davidson on water.
Yeah.
It's just like it. It's unbelievable. And even when you fall, you love falling because you just crash into the waves. It's great. It's so much fun. Just you gotta check that out.
Yeah. The Magnum tour's going extremely well, and I'm delighted for you to be on it too. So where do you go from here? Right, as soon as you finish in the UK, where do you go from here? Are you still with them or what? What's the score?
Oh yes, yeah. We're gonna do pretty much a whole tour with Magnum. We have about, I believe, 10 more shows in England. We just came from Glasgow, which was a great show last night.
Was it good?
Oh, absolutely wonderful.
Super kids
Great
out
audience,
there.
Yeah. In fact, Robert Plant just played that 3 days ago.
Yeah.
So that was quite. That was
Thank you for warming him up for us, Robert.
Yeah.
He warmed up those beds for us. He told us to in his last interview.
Yeah, he did this comment like, the bed is still warm, you better be good. Mr. Wolf. I love that, that's great. So when you see him, he's going to be here in a few days.
That's right, yeah.
So tell him thanks a lot, the bed was still warm, and I think we were good. And tell him, if he brings the cookies, I'll bring you tea. No, but where were we? So we have about 10 more shows in England, I believe. And then we're going to go to the rest of Europe, which is Oslo, Norway, I believe, Sweden, Denmark, Switzerland, and Paris. And we have about 15 shows in Germany. And I'm going to be very excited, especially in Hamburg, my hometown.
Yeah?
So I got this little brother. He's 12 years old. My sister's 15. So I'm gonna be their hero for a day. I like that.
Can you introduce me to your sister?
I will, Johnny. Yeah. And then the tour will be done by May 21st, which will be the day when we're gonna fly back to Milwaukee, which is close to Chicago, to the States. And 4 days later, we're gonna start the Monsters of Rock, which is the first stadium tour in America. I mean, they haven't done this before, like
now
in
tell
Europe.
me something about this. I've heard about it and I've read little bits about it. Tell me all about it. What is it? What is all this about?
Monsters of Rock is the first stadium tour in America. Not like in Europe where they've done it, I believe, a few times already, right? Where the Monsters of Rock just meet and it's like a big...
We stole the title. I think,
so typical. No, and it's a big rock venue, I believe. It's what is it? Van Halen, Scorpions, Dundalk, Metallica, and we're open for that.
Great.
So it'll be a big party. It's great. I mean, I'm a fan of all of them, so it's great.
Yeah, fantastic. Yeah. So I suppose then it's a new album, really, basically, is it?
Yes.
4 weeks out in America and 2 weeks here in
Is it?
England.
Yeah, it's about 4 weeks now. Yeah.
Yeah.
So have you written any new material?
Yes, before we left to Europe, we had we had a few weeks where we had pretty much nothing to do. I mean, we were rehearsing heavily for the tour, but in between there was time where we started writing songs again, and I can't wait to do the second one.
Yeah.
No, we're sitting on material already.
Do you like studio work?
I do like it. Let's put it this way: this is the first album I enjoy doing. I co-produced it with Bob Rock, great guy. We got along very, very well. And we had a good time doing this album. I mean, in between the band, him and the label, it was just great. We had a good time. Meanwhile, the first two Stone Fury albums, it was a disaster. But I'm trying to have fun again, yeah.
Great. Do you like studio work, Johnny?
I think the key word's work, but we definitely had fun. I mean, we had our days off up at it was right in the middle of a real hot spell in Los Angeles. It was about 110 degrees every day, and we were all, the air conditioners hardly work, and you're sitting in the pool all day. And they said, yeah, we're going to record up in Vancouver, and just so beautiful up there. It's like 75 degrees and right on the bay, and we said, yeah, we're going to Vancouver, and we just went up there, and I had a few days off before we started recording, and it was just unbelievable vibe. With Bob Rock was a super guy, and we cut most of the stuff live, and just we had the all the energy we needed, and
good.
That's one thing I was very cautious about this time, since the second Stone Fury album was very sterile, very stiff. I like the potential, but not the way it was presented.
Yeah, I agree.
At all. And so this way, we definitely made sure that we were recording the basic tracks live, which means rhythm guitar,
no computers,
drum and bass, absolutely live. And we were looking at each other and we were rocking. And that's one of the reasons why I think it's happening, because I mean you can feel they did it live. Of course, I did a little vocal overdubs later on, a couple solos later, keyboard work, but the basic feels
basically live.
Yeah, exactly.
Talking about live, have you recorded any of the shows whilst you've been over here at all?
Just on my manager's little video camera, but not really professional, no.
That's a shame. Could have been good just for your first UK tour. It would have made some good footage, very useful footage. Yes.
Actually, I'm glad you mentioned that.
It would have made some very good footage.
Yeah.
Always useful.
Tonight, what do you think?
I remember when I used to work for the Magnum organisation, which was Jet Records, and going back to the mid-70s, and we used to do that all the time. And I've still got the footage at home.
Well, Marty's running around with his video camera like a maniac. I mean, he's definitely keeping, I mean, he's definitely taking serious pictures of it.
Yeah.
It's just, I thought you were talking more about the sound. I mean, like
both.
Nothing off the board.
We didn't do that.
We haven't set up a recording thing off the board and tried to do anything great. Just one microphone off the video camera.
Yeah. This is stuff we definitely like to do once we have the proper time to prepare ourselves, like a big sound check, and this is something you do when you headline, I think. Because as an opener, I just blew it, John, and he doesn't like it.
Not in the UK. We grab something by the balls and we squeeze and we go for it. Yeah.
No, I agree, but you still want to sound the way you like to sound. And as an opener, you have limited times. And
we're lucky if we make it on stage in time, let alone set up our equipment and get a sound check.
Yes, I know. The Maggots are renowned for taking at least an hour-long sound checks every night. The point is, I mean, they're perfectionists.
And I can relate to that very well. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So things look to be cooking, right?
Absolutely.
You seem happy.
Oh, yeah.
Looking forward for tonight.
Next time you come round, come and Next time you come round, give us another look, and things are going to be bigger, bigger.
Sounds good to me.
Thank you very much.
All right, nice to see you. Okay, so there you have it, a brief chat with the boys from Kingdom Come. In retrospect, I think their support slot on the Magnum tour did pay off. They could certainly have done with a little bit more lighting, but most important, I think they managed to shrug off the old Led Zeppelin tag, and let's just hope it stays that way. Their slot on the American Monsters of Rock gigs proved an ideal showcase for the boys over there. As a reminder, and just for the record, they were the opening act on the tour, followed by Dokken, Metallica, the Scorpions, and of course Van Halen. And the American punters were really kind to the boys. They were given a good sound, which is pretty rare for an opening act, and they've been given tremendous support from the other bands, especially the Scorpions, who speak the same language as Lenny, of course. And they do a 40-minute slot, starting off with Shout It Out, closely followed by Living Out of Touch, then Pushing Hard, What Love Can Be, and the classic Get It On, and of course the Shuffle, by which time it's pretty noticeable that it's the girls who are really going most crazy. Have we another Europe here? Well, I certainly hope not. Anyway, I firmly believe we've got another supergroup in the making, and let's just see what happens next.